So this is corn and pigeon peas. In the Caribbean, in particular Grenada, where I'm from, this is how we usually plant when the planting season comes around. We have two seasons here, wet and dry. The dry season starts somewhere around February to May, and the wet season from May to December and into January. So when the planting season comes around, which is usually spring for most of you, we start by planting corn and peas. We usually plant both the corn and peas in the same hole. So we open the holes and we put about maybe 3-4 grains of corn and maybe 4-5 grains of peas. That is pigeon peas. So we planted corn and peas in the same hole. We say we're planting corn and peas. Right? So this is corn and peas growing. In this case, the peas has dominated the corn. They're growing up really, really nice. And in this land here, peas bear really, really well. So if you can see, it's a whole field of peas going up with corn in them. Okay. If you could only see in the distance with the peas, they're coming up. These trees here are really big and nice. In here, shamefully, was my cucumber and cantaloupe, and a worm has just eaten out all of the leaves and just left everything bare. But I'm not too worried. It has devastated. It has started now in my pumpkin, eating up the pumpkin leaves, and has damaged all of the cucumber. And the only thing they have not touched is the watermelons. The watermelons are doing good still. They're quite green. But all where you see brown patches is where I have cantaloupe planted. And they have eaten out all the leaves, just leave the veins exposed. That's all, like you can see here. See this leaf? They just eat it out and just leave the veins exposed. So the plant has no choice but to just die. But I have noticed that I have given some of them pen manure earlier, and even though they were like that, they still came back up and had leaves and started bearing again. So I'm a little hopeful. I'm going to try this with this patch and see. Oh, it seems like there is a little cantaloupe in here. Yeah, it has no choice but to try to ripen up. The melons, on the other hand, are still green, have their leaves. So back to the peas. And this row here, another thing that we do in the Caribbean is with our corn and peas, on the edge of the land we plant sorrel, or what you call roselle. Sorrel is used to make a really lovely drink at Christmas time. It's a nice red drink. So this is a row of sorrel. I've planted it along the edge, and I'm so happy to see them growing up really nice here. Sorrel do very well in this land also. By the way, this area is in Grenada and St. George's. The soil here is excellent for watermelon and peas and casava. Things just, these crops are just too excellent here in Grenada's area. You don't have to give them any manure. The only reason I'm giving them manure this year is because I noticed that the plants were a little stunted. Took a while because of all the sun. So I gave them a boost with some manure, and then as I did that, everything just fly up, with the manure. So back to the sorrel. So as you can see here, I have sorrel growing along the edge of the land in boundary with the other neighbor's land, right? So behind the corn and peas is the other neighbor's land, and on the edge of the land I have the peas inside, and I have the sorrel. Yep, sorrel. plant them along the edge. Greener. I thought I was not going to have sorrel this year because I almost didn't have seeds. And then somebody gave me some seeds and I planted them. I forgot about them. I thought they didn't grow. And then when I came to clean up here, I see all of these trees here. So I was so happy to see them. So at least I can think about having sorrel for Christmas this year. And maybe a little excess to sell. So back to my corn and peas. And from another angle. From another angle you can see the corn and peas here. You can see them. Let's see what corn looks better with the peas. Right, so how it works is that the corn usually would bear and finish before the peas. Therefore, when the corn bears, you cut the stalk out, and the peas is free now to stand alone. The peas is it bears for 2 years. It's not an annual crop. It bears for 2 years and then dies down. So the corn comes first, you cut it down, then you leave the peas, and the peas spread out open, start to bear, and it would stay there after you pick it. The next season starts, it will take up new leaves, grow bigger, and continue to bear the second year. So this is part of the last set of peas I planted. Corn. By the way, these are popcorn. I just bought the corn for popping in the supermarket and planted the seeds. So these are supposed to be popping corn when they bear. I will leave them dry and hopefully I get a good popcorn harvest so that I can sit before the television and enjoy my harvest. Okay, so this is a pumpkin. Now, although we plant corn and peas, what I've decided to do in order to maximize land space is to plant corn, peas, and pumpkin in the same hole. I've done that in the other patch, but even though everything is growing well, the pumpkin grows up with a lot of leaves, and then it kind of stifles out the peas. So like in this case here, these peas, I have to kind of bend down the pumpkin leaves to give the peas space to run up, because the pumpkin tend to sort of drown out everything. But the idea is the pumpkin runs underground, the corn and the peas come up. The pumpkin takes a few months to bear and finish. It's an annual crop. And then the corn comes after, before it's growing up, so it should not handbug the pumpkin, and it doesn't handbug the peas. Each of them are harvested in their own time. Okay. So these are the last set of peas, corn and peas, and popcorn in between that I planted. So they're growing. The popcorn doesn't look so happy here. Usually corn grow really nice, stout and green in this area with no manure whatsoever. But this set is some sandy area. There was a heap of sand here and I just cut it out and I planted it in it anyway. So it's kind of trying to find its way in the sandy area here. It's not the proper soil. But in Grenada we have soil that we can boast about. We do not have to buy soil. Soil is natural. It comes natural for us. We just have to plant it, weed it, and harvest it. So corn and peas here. That's the last set of peas I've planted. And if you notice, the peas are standing and there is not much corn in between, because the corn I planted didn't grow. The last set of popcorn I planted, they didn't grow well. So the peas are there looking happily on their own, growing up happily on their own. So I decided just to put a few holes of corn. And this is regular corn I plant here now in between it. And they are just growing up. Let's see. Regular corn. I just put holes of corn between the peas in the empty space. Pretty soon the pumpkin is going to come and take over here again. This is a cassava that I have growing here. And that's the next thing. We usually plant cassava in between the peas. So it's corn and peas and cassava in between. We make little beds, little hips between the peas, the stools of peas, and we plant cassava like 3 sticks on the little bed, and it would grow up into one big bed of cassava. But this year I just didn't plant much cassava. I just put 1 or 2 beds in between because the last time I grew cassava, it bears so much I didn't know what to do with it. And the market is not good for it. I mean, we're not getting much sale for the cassava, so I just didn't want to be bothered this year. But I love cassava. I love cassava. So this is corn that is growing up in between. Hopefully the pumpkin doesn't drown it out here, because as you can see, the pumpkin here, they are spreading. I planted corn, peas and pumpkin. And I planted my sunflower. This one was looking so pretty. Now look what happens to it. Oh, it just died. Man, I was looking forward. That was the biggest tree. I just wanted that sunflower to grow. Anyway, I have 1 or 2. But the leaves start looking funny. I just hope I don't lose all of them. Man, I'm so sad. This is a giant sunflower. I wanted to grow it for the first time. I was looking forward to that big head of sunflower seeds that I was going to just use and plant again to spread the crop and to increase. But sadly, anyway, I still have my corn to be happy with, and the peas, they are looking excellent. They're growing up really well. Once they start to bear, I will take you on a journey to show you how well the peas bear in this area, because I usually pick baskets of peas when I'm starting to pick around November, December. The sorrel starts to bear around sometime as early as late October to November, so that between that time I have sorrel up to December, when it's Christmas time and everybody look forward to having sorrel on their dinner table for Christmas. So the pumpkins are doing well. As fast as they are running, the vines, they're making young pumpkin. They're having pumpkin, and they're really just running. See what's happening here? This stool of corn here is starting to get drowned out by the pumpkin. The leaves. So what I do is just bend back the leaves like this, so that the corn or the peas can have light. And then I have to root up any little weed in between. Because the soil is very rich here, the weeds grow really quickly, and ever so often I have to come back. So I'm being distracted now by a plane that is passing, because my area is not too far from the airport and the Morris Bishop International Airport. I just pan around so you can see this area here is called Tripoli. It's really a commercial area. You have most hotels and housing area for renting and so on for the SGO students. The SGO campus is not too far from here, so that, and the airport is not far from here. So it's a commercial area, but that piece of land is vacant, and the soil in this area, the whole of Grenada, is just magnificent. When it comes to planting, you don't have to worry about putting any amendment to the soil, because the soil is just, and we have lovely loam soil. You can see this here, nice loam soil, nice balance of sand and everything else well mixed up in the soil. We don't have to do nothing to the soil. We just plant, and that's it. We have very thick layer of soil. But different parts of Grenada has different types of soil. We have some clay area, some areas in Grenada that has clay soil. Some would have, more of a mix of clay and sand, or but this area is just perfect. Just the kind of soil you want to plant in. It's just nice and easy to plant in. And weeding is a pleasure for me because the ground is soft, the soil is soft. It's easy to just pull up the grass. Here I don't use any cutlass or anything, I just pull up the grass with my hands. And it's just a pleasure. But just as the soil is pleasant for the crop, it is also pleasant for the weeds. I always have to keep weeding. Right, so just look across at the pumpkin. This is one area that I have pumpkin planted and some squash, and they're all starting to bear now. I'm only sad because I lost my sunflower. I have another set there, and they are looking, the leaves starting to get yellow, and I'm sad and unhappy about that. They were looking so green and pretty just not too long ago. See these? The leaves are starting to get yellow. I think I might give it some pen manure and see if that would help. Okay. So this is my son weeding up a path with the hoe. And this is another implement, gardening implement that we use here. Most often we use the cutlass. Oh, you're doing a good job, then. You cut us a lot. You beat me. And so the nice thing about the hoe, I love using the hoe in this land here because the ground is soft, and as you can see, the hoe is just ripping through the soil, cutting out all the roots from the plant. So after you cutlass and clear all the weeds, it takes a long while before the weed can grow back because you're taking out the weed with all of the roots. And once you do that, it takes a while before you have to weed again. You see this one, Danny? Push the hole right underneath and take it out. Right. No, don't cut it up. Yeah. This particular weed, it's called porcelain. It's not necessarily a weed because it's edible. You can eat it. It's one of the herbs that are very high in omega-3. And we'll have a lot of it in the garden here. And then when they start to grow, they spread. As fast as you cut, every piece that you cut, it will just plant itself back. So it spreads very easily. Plus it makes seeds. It makes little seeds in the end. It will blossom and make seeds, and little tiny black seeds. And these black seeds are going to just propagate themselves all over the land again. So you cannot eat everything. You can eat some, but not everything. So then don't chop it up. Just get the hoe underneath it. Yeah. Oh, and we have our friend Daman here. He always comes to visit us in the garden. Good evening, Daman. Oh, his name is Ginger, I think. His owner says his name is Ginger, but I call him Daman. Hi, Daman. He comes to get me to play with him every day I'm in the garden. And he sits and waits until I'm finished working. And when I leave, he goes home. Hi, Daman. So, this is my garden. Oh, I showed you from a distance what the worm is doing to my cantaloupe. As you can see, they devastated it. But I'm not too disheartened. Because they're all bare already, and they're just start ripening up in this patch here. So I'm not too worried. I will still be able to harvest the cantaloupe. And it was so thick before the worms eat up the leaves that I couldn't see the cantaloupes in between. So now that they have eaten the leaves, I can see how much cantaloupe is there. So they're bearing very well. They bear very, very well. Very well. have to wait, let them ripe properly and pick them. They tend to be sweeter when you pick them as they ripe. If I pick them a little before, it will ripe, but not so well. So as I'm here, I'm just going to, harvested some watermelons this morning. But unfortunately, as well as things grow here, there are also people who come around to steal your crop. And somebody was here before me this morning and picked a good bit of watermelons that I left and went before I got here. But I picked some, and these I leave back to fool a little. So in about 3 or 4 days time, I should be able to harvest these. The rest is just hiding below the vines. The vines are really, really thick. They have just taken off, just run and cover everywhere. And the okra trees in between. These all grew up on their own. But back to the cantaloupe. The leaves are all eaten up. The worms are there, and now they're starting to bite the fruit. I notice they're starting to bite the fruit. Oh. You win some, you lose some. But anyway, and my sweet peppers, I harvested some this morning just so that I can prepare my Sunday meal tomorrow. And the tomatoes, they are blossoming and they are beginning to bear. I was lamenting that they're taking so long to bear, but at least they're starting to bear now. Yep. Starting to have little tomatoes on them. So these are the determinate tomatoes. Here we mostly plant the determinate tomatoes. We put sticks next to them, and we tie them up when they start falling down like this. As you see, this one is starting to bear tomatoes, so the tree is starting to fall, so I have to get some rope now and tie it up against the sticks. So that's why we have sticks standing up next to our tomatoes. And the beans down there. Yeah. They are all grinding up the sticks too, but they haven't started to bear yet. It's getting dark here now. It's about maybe after 5. So 6 somewhere in the evening. So it's starting to get dark now. And but I still want to take a look at my peppers. They're bearing very well, very, very, very well. Just that the size, I was expecting bigger size from them, but I thank God. I thank God for them. They're being very well. Right, so thank you. It was nice taking this trip with me. Oh, one thing before I go. I am near to this peanut patch here. I planted some peanuts, and these are all peanuts that I bought from the supermarket to eat. The patch, I planted the seeds in the ground, and they all grew up very well. Here, very, very well they grew up, and they are bearing very well too. Let me see if I can show you. You see all these little stick-like things? They are going down into the ground and making peanuts. See? If I pull it up, you see? They are just bearing as crazy. They're just going down on the ground, into the ground. All these little stick-like things. As it blossoms, then it sends out this sort of stick-like things, and they're going right down in the ground, and each of them seem to be bearing a peanut. So I am really happy to see how they're doing. So I planted a few more beds on the other side, and they're growing up well. I am just looking forward to eating peanuts this year. I hope nothing hamburgs them. They are doing just excellent. Yep, and another cassava still. So thank you very much, guys. It was nice taking a tour with me in my little patch of lands, and back to Dam and saying goodbye. Goodbye, Dam. Bye, bye, bye.